However, the MiG-28 does have a problem with its inverted flight tanks.
The lights dim in a theater somewhere in America, 1986. The opening credits of Top Gun flash across the screen, and there she is, Kelly McGillis, blonde hair catching the projector's glow, eyes that hold something mysterious, something untouchable. She stands in that flight suit, a vision of confidence and intelligence that made millions forget to breathe. For a brief, incandescent moment, she was the woman every man wanted and every woman wanted to be. Charlie Blackwood, the astrophysicist instructor who could match Tom Cruise scene for scene, who radiated a kind of mature sensuality that Hollywood hadn't quite seen before. The camera loved her. The audience worshipped her. And then, almost imperceptibly, she began to vanish. Not in scandal, not in flame, but in a quiet withdrawal that left an entire generation wondering what happened to the woman who once owned the screen. Kelly McGillis was born on July 9, 1957, in Newport Beach, California, but grew up in a world far removed from Hollywood's glitter. Her family moved to Los Angeles when she was young, but this wasn't the Los Angeles of movie premieres and poolside parties. Her father was a physician. Her mother kept the household running with practical efficiency. Kelly was the eldest of 3 daughters in a conservative, middle-class home where expectations ran high and emotions ran private. From the beginning, there was something about her that didn't quite fit the mold. She was tall, nearly 5'10" by her teens, angular and intense in a way that made her feel perpetually out of place. While other girls dreamed of being pretty, Kelly dreamed of being seen, of being understood, of inhabiting lives larger than the one prescribed for her. She felt too much, thought too deeply, questioned too insistently. High school was a landscape of social minefields where her height made her self-conscious and her seriousness made her seem aloof. But in the drama department, something shifted. On stage, her awkwardness transformed into power. Her intensity became magnetic. She could disappear into characters and find a freedom that her real life never offered. After high school, Kelly made a decision that would alter everything. She applied to the Juilliard School in New York City, that legendary conservatory where actors were forged in discipline and craft. Getting accepted felt like validation, proof that her strange, burning need to act wasn't foolishness but calling. New York in the late 70s was gritty, dangerous, electric. She lived in small apartments, survived on little money, and threw herself into the rigorous training that Juilliard demanded. The work was exhausting, ego-crushing, transformative. She learned to access emotions she'd buried, to use her body as an instrument, to understand that acting wasn't pretending but revealing. When she graduated in 1983, she was 25 years old, classically trained, and ready to prove herself. Her first professional role came in the 1983 television film Reuben, a small part that nonetheless showed Hollywood she could hold her own on screen. But it was her next project that would change her life entirely. In 1985, Kelly McGillis stepped into the role of Rachel Lapp in Witness, opposite Harrison Ford. The film, directed by Peter Weir, was a thoughtful thriller about a Philadelphia detective who hides among the Amish after witnessing a murder. Kelly played a young Amish widow whose quiet world collides with violence and forbidden attraction. What most people don't know is that this role could have gone to any number of actresses, but we saw something in Kelly, a quality of groundedness, of spiritual depth, of genuine otherness that couldn't be manufactured. She wasn't Hollywood beautiful in the conventional sense. Her features were strong, her presence earthy and real. In the famous barn-raising scene, dancing with Ford to the car radio, Kelly radiated a kind of yearning that felt utterly authentic. Critics noticed the film was a massive success, earning 8 Academy Award nominations. Kelly herself was nominated for a BAFTA and a Golden Globe. Suddenly, at 27, she was being called one of the most promising actresses of her generation. The industry took notice. Kelly McGillis had arrived not as a bombshell, but as a serious actress, someone who brought intelligence and depth to every frame. The timing couldn't have been better. The mid-80s were hungry for women who could be more than decoration, who could anchor films with their talent rather than just their looks. And then came the role that would make her a household name. When she was cast as Charlotte Charlie Blackwood in Top Gun, Kelly became the object of desire for the biggest movie star on the planet. The film, released in 1986, was a cultural phenomenon. Tom Cruise, fighter jets, neon-lit bars, that unforgettable soundtrack. It captured the Reagan-era zeitgeist perfectly. But Kelly's Charlie was something different. She wasn't a damsel. She was brilliant, accomplished, confident. She chose Maverick as much as he pursued her. In the famous scene where they kiss at sunset, Kelly looked like a goddess. All cheekbones and mystery and barely contained passion. Teenage boys plastered her image on bedroom walls. Women saw her as a role model. The film grossed over $350 million worldwide. Kelly McGillis was everywhere. What followed felt like a dream. She starred in The House on Carroll Street in 1988, a period thriller set in McCarthy-era America. She played the accused in the original stage production before the film adaptation. She worked opposite actors at the peak of their powers. Magazine covers featured her face. Interviews dissected her process, her thoughts, her life. The press called her regal, striking, unconventional. She wasn't the typical Hollywood starlet, and that seemed to be exactly why she resonated. There was a maturity to her work, a refusal to pander or diminish herself. In a town that often reduced women to their sexuality, Kelly projected something more complex: intelligence, autonomy, mystery. She was offered scripts constantly. Studios wanted to build franchises around her. Directors sought her out. For a few blazing years, Kelly McGillis seemed poised to become one of the defining actresses of her generation, someone who would age gracefully through prestige films and continue to captivate audiences for decades. But here's where I want to pause and ask you something. What was the first film where you saw Kelly McGillis? Was it Top Gun, with that sunset kiss that made you believe in romance? Was it Witness, watching her in that bonnet, realizing that beauty could be quiet and profound? Drop a comment below and tell me your first Kelly McGillis memory and how her performance made you feel. Use this phrase if you want. I first saw Kelly in Film Name, and what struck me was I read every single comment, and your stories help shape which actors we explore next. In the late 80s, something began to shift, though few could see it happening. Kelly continued to work. She starred in Cat Chaser in 1989, Winter People in 1989, and several other projects. But the roles were changing. The scripts coming her way weren't quite as strong. The budgets weren't quite as big. She was in her early 30s now, and Hollywood has never been kind to women approaching that invisible line. But more than that, something was changing inside Kelly herself. The machine of fame, which had seemed so thrilling at first, began to feel suffocating. The constant attention, the expectations, the way the industry wanted to package and sell her, it all started to feel incompatible with who she actually was. There's a scene that plays out in my mind, though it's more symbolic than literal. Picture Kelly in a hotel suite after a premiere, champagne glasses abandoned on marble counters, the sounds of the after-party filtering through the walls. She stands at the window looking down at the city, still in her gown, makeup starting to crack. And in that moment, she feels profoundly alone. Not lonely for company, but alone in a deeper sense. Disconnected from the person she's become, from the life she's built. The woman in the billboards and the magazines feels like a stranger. The question forms slowly, insistently. Is this what I want? Is this who I am? Kelly's departure from Hollywood wasn't a single dramatic exit, but a gradual retreat. She began choosing smaller projects, independent films that paid far less, but allowed more creative freedom. She returned to theater, performing in productions far from Los Angeles. She was selective, deliberate, less interested in stardom than in craft. To the public, it seemed like her star was fading. Offers slowed. Her name appeared less frequently in the trades. By the mid-90s, she was doing television movies and guest appearances rather than tentpole features. The industry whispered about what went wrong, why she couldn't sustain her momentum. But the truth was more complicated and more personal. Kelly was dealing with struggles that had nothing to do with talent and everything to do with identity. She had married Boyd Black in 1979, divorcing in 1981. She married Fred Tillman in 1989 and had 2 daughters, Kelsey and Sonora. From the outside, it looked like a life settling into comfortable domesticity. But inside, Kelly was wrestling with fundamental questions about who she loved and who she was allowed to be. In 2009, Kelly McGillis publicly came out as a lesbian. The announcement didn't make major headlines. She was no longer at the peak of visibility, but for those who'd followed her career, it reframed everything. Suddenly, the retreat from Hollywood made sense in a different light. Here was a woman who'd been struggling with her identity in an industry that, in the 80s and 90s, had no room for gay leading ladies. The pressure to maintain an image, to fit a mold, to be the heterosexual object of desire while privately grappling with her truth, it must have been unbearable. Her withdrawal wasn't failure. It was survival. Kelly moved to North Carolina, far from the cameras and the judgment. She taught acting at a local college, sharing the craft she loved with students who saw her not as a faded star, but as a skilled professional with wisdom to offer. She performed in regional theater, working for the love of performance rather than fame. She embraced a quieter life, one where she could finally, fully, be herself. The years that followed brought both liberation and hardship. Kelly struggled with alcoholism and sought treatment, speaking openly about her recovery in later interviews. She faced financial difficulties, revealing in a 2010 interview that she was working at a restaurant to make ends meet. She experienced a terrifying home invasion in 2016 that left her shaken, but ultimately more resolved to live on her own terms. Through it all, Kelly maintained a dignity and honesty that felt rare. She didn't blame Hollywood. She didn't manufacture a comeback narrative. She simply lived, worked, loved, and tried to find peace. When Top Gun: Maverick was released in 2022, bringing the franchise back to life, Kelly wasn't invited to return. The Charlie character was mentioned but not seen. Some fans were disappointed, even outraged. But Kelly herself seemed at peace with it. She no longer belonged to that world, and that world no longer fit her. She'd chosen a different path, one that prioritized authenticity over applause. Today, Kelly McGillis is 67 years old. She lives away from the spotlight, occasionally appearing at fan conventions or small events, but mostly existing in the private life she's built. When you look at photographs of her now, you see a woman who's aged naturally, without the surgery and fillers that Hollywood demands. There's something beautiful in that choice, a refusal to erase time, to pretend she's still that woman in the flight suit. She's someone else now, someone more real, perhaps more whole. The story of Kelly McGillis isn't a tragedy of wasted potential. It's a testament to the courage it takes to walk away from something the world tells you to want, to choose truth over image, peace over fame. In an industry that measures worth in box office receipts and award nominations, Kelly chose to measure her life differently. In authenticity, in quiet joys, in work that fed her soul rather than her ego. There's something profound in her journey, something that speaks to all of us. We live in a culture obsessed with visibility, with maintaining relevance, with never letting the world forget we exist. Kelly McGillis chose invisibility, and in doing so, found herself. She reminds us that fame is not the same as happiness, that success can be a prison, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go of what you thought you wanted in order to claim what you actually need. She was everywhere in the 90s, yes, but only in the sense that her image was everywhere. The real Kelly, the woman beneath the character, was still searching, still struggling, still trying to find her way home. And in the quiet of North Carolina, teaching students and performing for small audiences and living truthfully, she finally did. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of actors who shaped our memories and then disappeared from view. Drop a comment with the name of another forgotten star whose story you want to hear. And remember, I read every single one. Kelly McGillis taught us that there's life beyond the spotlight, that authenticity matters more than applause, and that sometimes the greatest role we can play is simply ourselves. The camera may have stopped rolling, but her story continues, quieter now, truer, and entirely her own.